What does it sound like?
It's got a bad hum on it.
Like when you plug in your cord to the wrong volume thingy. Not volume, you know.
Plug your guitar into an amp. It's like...
Yeah, that sound. That sound. I like how it's still a mix ship.
Nope, no mic.
Try and go to sleep.
You're talking to the ether there, Ryan. You're having a whole conversation. Nobody could hear him. It's bad when he's got the camera
would
on.
never know he was talking.
Oh, I was watching his camera. He was going all out, cussing, throwing things.
Hear me now?
Oh yeah, there it is.
Hey, there we go. Different USB port, apparently.
Why is it that you have to change your USB port for it to work?
Because apparently the other one didn't want to do audio.
I think you need a new computer.
Mayhaps.
My old computer was like that, but that's because I had too many things plugged into USBs.
That could also be another reason.
Yeah, I think on my old computer, I had a USB sound card, 2 keyboards, a gamepad, my mouse, and my camera. And so I was using every USB port on that thing, and they were all running at the same time. It was not happy.
It's like, okay, I know that they're here, but it doesn't mean you have to use them all.
But I did.
I had him like asleep and like ready to nap for the rest of the game. And then like all of a sudden he just like woke up and now I won't go back to sleep. And I'm like, you haven't napped all day long. Like I thought I had this like perfectly planned out.
Oh no.
What happened?
He knows it's D&D time.
Yeah, he does love D&D. I have a video of him talking to the TV when Critical Role is playing. So.
Aww. Are you actually keeping up with this season?
Yeah, I am. I watch it every week. Normally Wednesdays is when I watch it. So Wednesday or Thursday. So. But I always have some sort of D&D going on because it's like I have our 2 games and then I always rewatch our 2 games. Then I have Critical Role, so it's like 5 of the 7 days are D&D days. It's a good life. Really rolling in no time.
Great.
Let me see. I bet I can find that video because he's adorable and I will always show him off. Well, I don't know how to. It's fine, okay? It looks really concerning to me of the people. Do I see? Well.
Yeah, who would have thought running a campaign is so much work?
Yeah, I couldn't do it. There's way too much that comes into it. Like, I have a hard time keeping up with one character half the time, so I'm like, no. Can't take care of the whole world.
Yeah.
Let alone the whole galaxy.
Right? I have a feeling 90% of this is going to be, let's just wing it.
works.
I got a few things that I've got written down, and to be honest, I didn't actually write anything down for this week. So I came up with something in the last 30 minutes while I was enjoying my wine. So
Ooh, that keeps
All
things
right.
interesting.
yeah, so
So we'll see how well we keep to that track for you.
yeah. That's probably not gonna happen. All right, so I guess we can just get started then. Last time we saw our heroes in a galaxy far away in a land or time not too distant past. Our adventurers / smugglers / gunrunners / gangsters. They had an altercation with the Sith Empire, in which they struck a deal with a Sith apprentice to kill his master in order to gain favor with the local cartel, or rather to gain access to the local cartel, not necessarily their favor on Nar Shaddaa. They went through, battled the master, who was relatively inadequate in his position, stole his droid, and took Andon's ship, which was given to them, in which they took off on a joyride around the planets, just to kind of get a feel for things, and they were tasked to go down to Nar Shaddaa to talk to a local Imperial agent that would get them in contact with the Shadow Council, which is the local gathering of cartel leaders who run the planet. So, we are out in space, we are joyriding. What would you like to do first?
Guess we need to find a parking spot and see what kind of ship and capabilities is available.
I want to go to the engine room, look around there, see what I can find.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of
you
give
went
this
ahead and
ship
threw
a
you guys
once
back
over.
over onto your ship.
I go look for the engine. I see you later. Oh, Santos is already
Looking,
Damn it.
looking only, right? We're just looking, not touching.
And you guys have
oh,
control of your tokens?
yes.
Yes.
It's working. And you have a fairly damaged surgical medical droid on board.
Oh yeah.
I
can look at him.
You're gonna go look at him?
I can look at him.
So I will say this is completely out of character. Since you guys don't have a healer, it might be wise of you to keep the droid instead of repurposing him.
All right.
No promises.
So it's totally up to you, but he is an adequate, to put it in D&D terms, he would be an equal level cleric for your guys' party.
Does he have
That
legs?
sounds good.
But, caveat, he only has healing. He is not a combat droid, he is a medical droid.
Does he have legs? Is he like stationary?
Oh no, he walks. So think of Empire Strikes Back, the droid that helped Luke after he got attacked by the Wampa. The one that was bringing him back to life. He's got two spindly legs, kind of almost like a skeleton rib cage, with a plain, almost like a World War II German style helmet with almost looks like a respirator or one of those old microphones attached to his face.
Cell, I believe you might be our first test subject to see if we can properly reprogram this thing.
I help.
Yes, you volunteer, yes.
I got hands. Yes, I help. Very nice. He saved my life though, so we should probably be nice to him because he helped me very much. So. Oh, but what is this? I like take a bolt off of him.
his
shiny.
his hip kind of shifts an inch down as it falls onto the ball socket.
I don't think he needs that.
Oh my god. Her next character needs to be a barbarian, and the name is Trainwreck.
I think she had one of those in our pirate campaign.
Was he a barbarian? I don't remember.
So the droid, I named it something. What did I name it? I put it in your guys's. You guys should be able to have access to it. In your
TR-17.
TR-17. I am TR-17, surgical droid. Would you please replace my leg bolt? I need that in order to be able to walk around.
Oh, so you do need it. Okay, fine. I'll like shove it back in there.
Roll me a sleight of hand check. Okay,
15.
you're fine. You don't cross the threads, so it goes in smoothly, and he is now set upright, and his movement speed has been restored.
I suppose it's good you can walk. For now.
Yes, I suppose you are my new masters now.
Oh yes, I'm Cell. I'm your master.
Love it. Master Cell, it looks like you were wounded in the battle. Would you mind getting on the table and allowing me to fix you?
I would like jump up like a 5-year-old and just sit on the edge of the table like,
Woo-hoo.
okay, you can fix me.
All right. So
You fixed me already once before. You're very useful.
so it TR-17 walks over to the cabinet in the med bay and grabs a couple of Bacta wraps and wraps that slash wound across your chest.
I suppose it.
Some D8. You get back 10 hit points.
Ooh. You are very useful. I keep you around. I won't steal your hip points no more. I'm gonna like pat him on the side as far up as I can reach him, probably his hip, and I'm gonna like scamper off to the engine room. Like, lizard man, the droid, he healed me again.
Well, I suppose if you got that thing working properly, there may be hope for you after all.
His hips work just fine.
I don't know why you think that's important for a surgical droid.
I don't either, but he thinks it was important, so I gave him back his hip.
Very well.
What are you working on in here? I have 2 hands, I help.
Well, just trying to give these engines a once-over to ensure that once we go into light speed, we won't simply be blown out from the space.
I'm gonna dig out the nav chip I took from the other ship. Do we need this?
Well, it certainly wouldn't hurt. You remember where you removed it from the last drive?
Yeah. It was right over here, right, yeah, over here. I'm gonna like shove it in like a random spot that it definitely doesn't go.
Oh my god.
And then over here.
All right,
This is
you
right.
do not break the nav chip. So Skathos, give me an what were we using for your engineering? An Arcana?
I can use Tinker's tools.
Tinker's tools. Give me a Tinker's tools check, just to kind of get the layout of this engine, engine situation.
All right. That's gonna be
A 10.
a 10.
All right, not bad. You know that obviously this is a twin drive vessel. It has it's got 0.5 past light speed, so you know that it's actually faster to navigate through light speed than your previous vessel that you were briefly on. And you do know that it has multiple data ports on the center console where you're at. So where you're at now is like the main console, main engineer's console to the ship, or to the engine room. Kind of tells you all the diagnostics, all the displays and everything. And there's multiple data ports on this console that you can insert multiple nav chips or diagnostic tools or that kind of thing. It's like a USB hub for the engine. So if you had a nav chip or a data chip or a data cube or some form, data crystal, there's all different things. This has like a different slot for each one of those different forms of data.
Lots of
you had to
USB
tune
slots.
it or something.
All right.
But you know that it's faster than a standard ship, and it runs twin engines. And there you go. Volwa, what are we doing? What are you doing up there? You said you were
I
parking.
assume me and Amick were looking for a safe spot. Nobody around where we can see from a distance. You know, be able to pick up anything on radar sensors.
Okay, checking the scanners. All right. Give me. Give me a wisdom check for you, Volwa. Just a straight wisdom. And we'll see what you get.
12.
Okay. So you're assisting Amick with his duties, since you've essentially put the ship in cruise control. So you go over to the secondary seat, just checking out some of the scans, pushing the buttons that need to be pushed. Amick has got this thing fine-tuned already. This seems, this particular ship, this model of ship, the XS Stocklight Freighter, is a common vessel for Mandalorians to use when they're not in their own Mandalorian vessels. This is like an equivalent. So he's very familiar with the scopes and the scans that this ship provides. And so he's kind of got this thing on lock. He's very confident. Currently, nothing in the area besides the dreadnought, which you left. You do see some trade vessels and some smaller like transport vessels coming to and from the planet, but nothing hostile. This particular ship has a wider range of sensors that tells weapon warm-up times, warp drives, heat signatures from ships, as well as checking for life signs on other ships. Kind of like a quantity blob situation, like hot spots on a ship, it'll tell you that rough estimate. And he's kind of, Amick is kind of checking that out, and he's got that dialed in, and he's not sensing, not seeing anything reporting that is out of the ordinary for a smuggler planet.
Okay, what's close to us that we can land on? Any asteroids? Or
Roll
is this just
me.
vacant space?
It'd be vacant space around this group of planets, but if you roll me a, let's go history check, even if you're untrained, to see if you can bring up some local planets or known asteroid belts in the area.
14.
14. All right. You know that in the very immediate area, you know that Nalhada is just a short flight away. You know Toydoria, or Toydaria is a small jump away. So not sublight drives, but obviously a hyperdrive, hyperspace jump. And you got an asteroid, kind of an asteroid belt. It's not necessarily like a huge asteroid belt, but there's some known debris kind of in between Quen and Yelesia, and Kinton. So in between, if you look on the, I'll put you on the overall map here. If you look on here, in between Nalhada, Yelesia, Kinton, and Quen, there's a small kind of like debris field. It's not just asteroids, it's also ships. It's a common confrontational area of ships as well as asteroids and those kind of things.
Like a spaceport or just like a ship hangout? Like boats in the water?
Space battles, more like it. Frequent by space pirates and things like that because they can hide in some of the asteroids. And it's also against, if people were smart, they would avoid confrontations in that area because that is Hutt-controlled space. And the Hutts don't like their ships getting attacked. They don't mind if their ships attack other people. But there are known pirates, or pirates have been known to come in and attack vessels in that space. So there'll be downed vessels and explosions and bits and pieces and asteroids and that kind of thing in that area.
Okay. Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm steering, but you know. I don't know where we are. I'm just on the ship, and they're like, "Here, kill this guy." I'm like, "Okay."
That Camino, is that entirely water?
It's like 90% water. And I would say at this point, because we know Camino as the cloning facilities, right? So
right.
They built their structures above the water. So in this case, it'd be like 90 to 95% water with very few land masses on that planet. So no cloning structures at this point. It's kind of a desolate planet.
Any known moons around local planets?
Give me another. Give me another intelligence check, and I'm gonna have Amick assist you on that. So take it with advantage.
Natural 20.
Well, you didn't need it. Okay, so yes, most of these planets, I would say Camino in general, since it's mostly water, it's going to be more dense than other planets, or the gravitational field would be more dense than other planets. So like the Rishi planet is kind of, it's another planet, but they're kind of sharing the same gravitational, almost like magnets, right? So they're attracted to each other, but they're still attracted and retracted from each other. Because you know how if you put like two south pole magnets together, they separate, but they'll still stay in the same distance. So Rishi and Ukiah are kind of in this like rotational, a rotational like symphony almost, kind of doing a dance around Camino. But there are some smaller, you'd call them moon-sized structures around Camino. So yes, there would be moons around Camino, but the gravitational pull is going to be slightly heavier on that planet, just because these planets aren't completely to scale. So Camino is going to be a slightly larger planet than Rishi and Ukiah, so it's got a heavier pull. And there are plenty of uncharted / uncolonized planet / moon / large asteroids that are around everywhere, that if you're looking for a place to land and hide, you can find one.
So looking back into some of the loot that we picked up from the last ship, could I spend some time looking up that rolled up animal hide with the strange writing in red?
Certainly. Where the hell did I put that? Okay, yeah, here it is.
Shade's main hold.
Yep. All right, let's see. Okay. Yeah, roll me, and we're gonna use Arcana for this as well, because this is
all right.
This is ancient, seemingly ancient text.
All right, that's gonna be a 22 Arcana.
Ooh, great. All right, so you kind of understand what languages do you read?
Where is it? Common, Abyssal, and Draconic.
Okay, so for this case, we're going to use Abyssal for like Sith.
Okay.
Language. So you realize that the Abyssal language is actually ancient Sith language that the known practitioners of Sith practices use for their transcripts, their sorcery manuscripts, and those kind of things. And you find out that this is actually a Sith text with the command spell on it.
That's sweet.
And you notice that it still has let me pop out the window. All right, so I will put that, edit the note for you. Save changes. There you go. All right, so that should be updated to say the Sith text of command spell. So that is. Oh, I didn't know you left. Great, worked out perfectly. Yeah, so you read that, you understand the deeper meanings within this. But you notice that there's something written in the text. It's still in Abyssal, but it's almost like a chant or like a string of sentences that denote something different from the spell itself. Almost like a postscript on the bottom of this rolled up animal hide. which you can dive into now or later.
I will happily dive into that now if we got time.
Okay, no, please, we got an hour and a half. We're making shit up as we go. All right, all right. Give me a straight intelligence check.
All right. Give me a 7.
Okay. So you understand the text and you're reading it, but it's not setting in. Like there's obviously a deeper meaning to this, but you're not getting it at this point. So you're gonna have to reflect on that.
Can I like look over his shoulder and attempt to help him?
Do you speak Abyssal?
Actually, I haven't even picked any languages because I wasn't sure how to do that with Star Wars.
So basically we're gonna choose whatever languages that you choose. I'll attach it to something. So if you want something specific, like if you are an occultist Jawa that likes the Sith artifacts, then I'll give you Abyssal. And Celestial will be Jedi writings. So we'll just make them the spectrum like that.
Huh. Well,
but you know what does Cell do in is Cell a male or a female? Or gender neutral Jawa? I need to know.
A male, but
male Jawa.
I think female is better, especially with the apron now. So I'm like, and I have a higher pitched voice, so I'm like, you know what? We'll do female.
Go either way. Do female. I wasn't sure because I was calling you a female and you were calling yourself a male, so I'm gonna write that down that you are a female.
It's Jawa.
Yeah, it's like dwarves, right? They all wind up being the same at the end.
Yeah.
They all have beards.
Somehow they always become Scottish.
It's all Scottish at the end. Okay, so Cell, what does she hobby? Like what's her like dark interest? Obviously the other two won't know in character. The other three.
Let's see, what would be her dark? My other two characters have great dark interests, so I haven't thought of her dark interest.
Do you want a dark interest? You don't. You could be like, oh, I'm fascinated with this whole light side thing, but it seems like you're an agent of chaos and the Sith Order, or even a separate order completely, like even like the Mandalorian Order. They're more lawful.
Oh goodness.
Oh, I'm sorry. Shh.
You're okay. Oh, goodness. You are just fussy. I sat down. I'm not allowed to sit down. Okay. So, I haven't really decided, like, light or dark with Cell. Kind of more like a little chaotic little, basically, gnome Jawa running around fucking shit up basically everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But,
and you don't necessarily have to be tied to either one of those two forces.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like
a specific orc, that could be like Gamorrean, those pig guys, or whatever.
That would be fun. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't like as much as I want to help Skathos with that. I don't think that
you're forming more into like the tried and true Jawa, right? The junker, they're not into the mystical things. They're like, I just want my stuff. And
this is shiny and it's really hard and I like it. That's kind of what I'm going for. Right. Not really so like, oh, this has magical properties to it. Like, no, I'm more like, this is interesting. And then people are like, that is a piece of metal. And I'm like, yeah, isn't that great? Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, so if you want to tap into that later, or maybe if you find something that you gain access to that might unlock or sway your belief system, then we can address that later. But right now you're just going to stick to the junker.
Exactly.
Okay. So no, you cannot assist Skathos on that at this moment.
Well, then I am just going to tinker on my little bot for a minute. I'm going to look at Skathos, see him clearly into something. So I'm like, I'm gonna take my nav chip, seeing his face, like that's clearly not where it goes. So I'm gonna take my nav chip back and stick it back in my pocket. And I'm gonna turn around and start messing with my bot. Like, fine, you don't get my nav chip then.
Very nice. I like it. All right, so so while Skathos is in the engine room, kind of looking over everything, and on the desk / console area, he's kind of got this scroll laid out, and he's kind of doing the once over on it. Valwa, are we going anywhere, or are you just going to kind of chill right outside this dreadnought or on the other side of Nar Shaddaa?
No, we are going to land on a uninhabited moon and then experiment with the
Where
ship.
is this coming from?
Perfect. Give me your sleight of hand, please. Because I assume we're not doing a jump to light speed because you didn't really want to do that last time, based on the dreadnought in the space.
Right, but the dreadnought's not really a situation anymore, right? I mean,
kind of. I mean, it depends on. It depends on like.
If we push our luck.
If you push your luck, yeah. Because he kind of sent you on a mission, like, hey, go to the planet and talk to my agent, and you were like, I'm gonna fly around for a little bit. So if you stay on sublight, you could possibly get lost within the. Actually, let's do that. Give me your piloting check, and we're gonna see if you can get lost on their scanners. See if you can kind of just get lost in the jumble, and then see if you can make a jump.
Can we detect if we're on someone's scanners? Is that something we can do?
I don't think
Not
so.
really?
I think you can know when someone has you targeted. But a scanner is just like a sonar. It just goes out and it's just reverberating all the data from all the ships in the area.
Okay.
my navigator existing?
No, this is a straight piloting to get lost into the other ships before you make a jump.
All right, 12.
Okay. That is sufficient enough for what you're doing. You're essentially just trying to blend in. So you're making your way like you're coming into the planet with the other trade ships from the far side of the planet. Because you said that we were going to fly around, kind of get a feel for the ship. So you're flying around the backside of Nar Shaddaa, and then you're coming in, acting like you're coming in, but you get underneath. Okay. So you're coming in underneath a large, like, freighter that is leaving Nar Shaddaa, and you kind of do a 180 and crawl up underneath it to lose yourself in the scan, and give me one more sleight of hand check for the flight with advantage.
Uh, 13.
13. Okay. So you can make the jump about, ping on the map about where you want to go.
I have the ship map.
Oh.
Not the star.
There you go. Fucking Nick. Bullshit. Are you on the overall map now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, tell me where you want to fly this thing, Valwa. You can give me a roundabout a planet, and I'll throw you in that direction.
All right. How do I ping on the map?
You have the arrow. Left click and hold on where you want it to do, and it'll ping for you.
All
How
right,
big
so
our ship is now?
just be on this side of the planet.
Which planet?
Is it
Didn't
not
ping.
pinging?
No, you'll be able to see the ping. It'll look like this. There it goes.
Ooh.
All right,
Okay, so you want to get Okay, so you're essentially you're on that side of the planet already. Did you want to get further? So Nar Shaddaa is a planet that you were sent to, and you were kind of flying around
I'm
that
just
planet.
looking at their ship and seeing how far away they are. That's not really scaled in.
Yeah,
Alright,
it's like a rough. I try to leave it big enough so you can actually look at the thing. So.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm looking for a moon around here.
Okay, so Ulesia. All right, so you'll fly out. You get lost into space, and we'll throw you on the the far side of Ulesia. All right, so you're just looking for like an asteroid or a moon of some sort to land on. Let's see what our navigator says. All right, he finds a couple of suitable, large enough masses that you can land on. Do you want to choose a moon or an asteroid? An asteroid doesn't have a fixed path around a planet. It can go rogue. A moon is a little bit more fixed. Would you rather fly to a moon or an asteroid?
I would say moon, but I would scan the moon to see if there's any structures out, a base,
Okay. He's going to give you a scan on one of the local moons. He finds a moon called Gavin. Gavin 2 is the moon. Gavin 2. And he scans it. It has a very light oxygen atmosphere. So you can step out of the planet, but it's kind of like being at 12,000, 13,000 feet elevation. It's very hard to breathe, but it's still breathable. Is that the moon you wish to land on?
Sure, I don't think we're going to be doing much, excursion. Just
One would
getting
hope.
to know the ship.
One would hope. All right, give me one more pilot check. So your sleight of hand, just to see if you bounce off this moon or not.
Let's see. Can't tell if that's a 16 or 18. 16.
Either way, it's good enough.
22. Yeah.
Okay.
22.
All right. So you land very soft, because you got to test out the planet or the moon, right? You don't know quite what the structure is. It could be a super soft moon. It could be a very hard moon. So you get a nice feel for it, almost like taking your toes through the sand, nice and soft, and then you land it without any trouble. So you are now secure on an essentially uncharted or uninhabited moon, as far as you know. So the scan was for settlements, because that is the quickest scan. It's like, okay, let's find the biggest heat signatures. It'll either find volcanoes, it'll find structures, it'll find spaceports. None of that were on the moon. So it's a very relatively cold moon. No structures involved on that moon.
Okay. And we'll just keep an active scanner, to alert if anything approaches. I assume we
is
can
going
have
to stay
that
on
ability.
active scan unless you need him to leave the ship.
Okay, we'll do that, and then I'll start going through it to find out what. I assume there's a command screen to show options.
Yeah. There's a console in the co-pilot seat that kind of has like the bars that say like energy levels or heat levels of certain things, like shield levels, your like oxygen, like it's got all the little things on there, and it kind of has a rundown of like what's your armaments, what's your energy capacity for those armaments, and those kind of things is all in the co-pilot seat.
Okay, as far as start with defense first. What are we capable of withstanding? How
Defensively,
bad? Yeah.
this has call it a
Hide armor, or is this plate mail?
right. So I'm gonna call this ship would have medium armor. So this would be a medium armor ship. Oh, you're using TR-17 as the step stool. Great. He assists you in whatever you need. So yeah, so it's going to be medium armor. I'll figure out the classifications later, but you have medium armor.
Okay. And any like a fighter plane, flares, chaff,
Defense mechanisms.
Yeah, anything to draw, say, missile shots or.
This particular ship does not. So this is not necessarily a fighting vessel. It is more intended for as a cargo transport vessel with light armaments and medium armor. So you know it has light armaments on it. And it has a better armament array than the transport ship that you guys were in currently, or previously.
Do we have, I guess, cannons? Are they centrally operated, or like the Falcon where you got one up, one down?
You have one up, one down. Since we're looking at the ship and we're currently parked, I'll throw you back onto the freighter. So if you look in the central area, right where that stairway is, you have a top mounted cannon and a bottom mounted cannon.
Oh. Don't worry, I take care of those.
Yes, that'll probably be one of your assigned duties. Not. All right. Anything physical that the ship does, like X-wing spreads its wings, or is this fixed wing?
Everything is essentially fixed. You have just a cargo door on the large cargo area on the north side of the ship. I guess if you're looking right at it, so you have the nose cone or the nose section in the front. On the right side, you have a cargo area that's running straight, and then on the left side, you have like a personnel docking area. So those are really the only auxiliary things on that ship.
Retrieval options: grappling hook, tractor beam. Say if we see space debris or
method of retrieval of things. This would have a airlock in the cargo area that you can spacesuit up and take essentially a winch cable out to grab objects. Nothing super fancy.
Like Futurama.
What's that?
Just like Futurama.
Just like Futurama, yes. A grapple arm comes out and you can guide it to what you're doing. So again, it's not like a mining vessel, which might have a small gravitational field on it. So when it's breaking something up, it gravitates into a hopper. It's not necessarily a ship capturing device, so it's not going to have a tractor beam. It's mainly meant for landing, using the winch / hover carts to carry cargo in. It's not necessarily meant for space gathering, but it can be adapted, or it has been adapted to that.
Just making wish list.
And you know that this particular ship is large enough that it can be adapted to other things. Maybe not like that ship in the Force Awakens that gets a Millennium Falcon. It's not going to have a hangar bay. It's not that big of a ship, right? But you could, in theory, install a small gravitational field outside the cargo hold that you could have things be, gravitate to it from the outside. Like, that's something that is in the realm of possibilities for this ship. Oh no.
And
So,
can this be piloted by one, or you have to have the navigator to shout commands, or you just constantly have to reach over if you're by yourself?
you would have to do the whole I'm going to be piloting, and then if you're going to do the nav computer, you're going to have to do the whole slide the chair back, come over here, type it in, come back into your chair, and then get back in the pilot if you're doing it by yourself. But it can be essentially piloted solo if needed. So if you want to jettison the Mandalorian at some point, yes, you can fly the ship by yourself. All right, so let's see what the Jawa's doing. You're exploring the ship, correct?
Yeah.
All right, give me an investigation check.
17.
All right. You find... God, I'm pulling the Mercer Cup thing. All right, so you find that there is a whole series of hiding catwalks throughout the entirety of the ship. So if you absolutely needed to, and you would assume that it's designed for astromech droids to get from any point of the ship to another without having to go up a ladder or up an elevator or anything like that. So it's like a single catwalk, one level, all the way around.
That's perfect for Sal. That's like her heaven.
And it's perfect for a Jawa.
Oh, yes.
So that's what you find. And there's like, say, in the cargo hold and the engine room are two locations where there is like in episode 1 where R2 goes and gets in that little elevator, gets shot out the end of the ship to go fix the shield generator. There's two of those little like chimneys, shafts that have droid access, but a Jawa would be able to fit as well. Or a small chopper.
Don't go in there. That could be bad. That could be very bad.
It's the garbage chute.
So she's gonna like stick her head out when she feels the ship land and look to TR-17 and kind of like reach out and use him to like step back down and everything, like clearly stepping on his face and being really clumsy about it. She'd be like, TR-17, I think we landed. I didn't know we was landing. Let's go see. Let's go see. And she's gonna like drag him along. Poor droid, it's her new pet.
Yeah, he says, yes, I did feel the jolt as well. I have not been mapped into the ship system, so I don't know quite what's going on at the moment. And
let's go map you. We can map you. Come.
Do you take him to your ship's engineer?
Yes.
Okay.
Stackman.
What is it, Sal? I'm a little busy right now.
My droid needs to be mapped in.
Hi.
Well, you have the nav
TR-17.
chip, don't you?
Yeah, a nav chip. I dig in my pack and like pull it out. Like, here's a nav chip.
Well, map him in then.
Yeah, that's.
The surgical droid speaks up. That is not the kind of map that I need. If you would like me to know what is going on in the ship, I would have to be properly interfaced with the ship.
I'm just gonna point to TR-17 and just stare at the Snake Man.
And you'd think we can trust this one?
Oh yes, I was very trustworthy. He saved me twice. I'm full health, almost. And he helped me climb around ship. Very useful. I found secret passage.
All right, if you say so, I suppose I can give you a hand.
Oh yes, please, please. I have 2 hands. I help.
Let's see if we can plug him into the ship's computers.
I'm gonna kind of like push TR-17 closer, like come.
I am coming. And he comes and he sits down next to the engine's console and extracts a cable out of his rib cage and hands it to Skathos.
And I'm gonna hand Skathos the nav chip.
I'm gonna try and plug in the nav chip into that kind of data port that I was looking over earlier. And if there's an available slot that looks like it might fit this port that the droid just gave me, I'll try that as well.
Yeah, so you know that the typical ships will have access to consoles on the base and the side, or the side of the base of these consoles, so that droids can just poke their little data arms out. This particular droid, since he's not an astromech droid, he doesn't have a whole lot of space. His is run through cables that he has to pull out and would have to plug in. So you can find that just fine, and the nav chip would slot right in, and you can begin coding that. Roll me an Arcana check for the speed of the coding / mapping of the droid.
There we go. Arcana 20.
Nice. Right. You do it just fine and very quickly. You're starting to get more familiar with the ship. It's feeling like almost like a home design, and that's the distinguishing marks for this particular vessel, is that it takes a lot of design and a lot of the number crunch and the technologies from everywhere. It makes it a very generic vessel that's very easy to work with, very easy to understand. Kind of that easy to learn, hard to master kind of thing.
What a very friendly user interface on this one.
Yes.
It is very friendly. It's very friendly. TR-17, right. Where are we? Can you tell me where we are now? Are you ready? Are you mapped?
Are you talking to the droid or to Skathos?
TR-17.
He's like, we are on Gavin 2. I believe our pilot has landed us on a small moon outside the Ucella system.
You did it, Snackman.
I didn't land anything, but I appreciate the compliment.
I'm just gonna nod, like, okay.
Now, if you're done here, I have business to attend to.
Okay, let's go, TR, let's go.
And
Push him out of the room.
as Cell leaves, I'm going to pull back out that parchment that I was looking over earlier and continue trying to just copy it as best as I can into my own little notebook.
Okay. Is your notebook a physical thing, or is it more of a data pad?
Data pad, maybe.
Okay. So essentially you take it and you set it up in a little jig on a table where the document is kind of splayed out, and you kind of got like a microscope thing set up, and you're kind of doing a digital scan of the document and placing it into your data pad. Essentially taking time instead of credits, but
all right.
Over your, maybe like an hour or two, the scan will come through, take away the credits anyway, just for the hell of it. Data space. You got to put in one of those SSD cards in the
got to pay for the cloud.
It's one of those backplane storage situations.
Yep.
All right. So I'm just going to throw this out. Do you want to do a scan of that particular droid while you were downloading?
Yeah.
I know you had qualms about it, so I wasn't sure.
Empire ship, I would like to, like, while doing all the upload, like maybe place a program in him that'll kind of scan his systems.
Okay. Roll
Eventually
me one more of those Arcana checks for your...
Yeah. A
Nice.
22.
So you know that this particular droid, since it belonged to Andon's master, is wired with a homing beacon and a transponder beacon back to the Dreadnought ship, the Shade.
And are they both, like, active presently?
They are both
like transmitting back? Okay.
They are... You would know that they are transmitting 100% of the time.
Okay.
It is an active safeguard. Now, if it was destroyed, obviously he couldn't use that. But he activated, you know that the signal was activated the moment that it went on to your new ship.
Okay.
So Andon did that from the Shade.
All right.
Would you like to tinker with that, or are you cool with...
I think I'm cool with that for now, since I'm still not too sure about this crew, and just in case I go missing, it looks like I got a bit of an insurance policy, just in case.
Right. So you got some information.
Yeah.
All right. So what is Volwa doing again? You were going back out and exploring or something? Oh, she's gone. No, that was the Jawa. Volwa, what are you doing again?
All right. After I familiarize the options of, piloting or firing or putting up defense, put a couple of little figurines of frogs on my dash panel.
Very Guardians of the Galaxy. I like it. Yondu! Okay.
Once I do that, then I'll go explore the ship. Do we have intercom? I would imagine.
Yeah. This has got a it's got an intercom panel within every room that also has designated call buttons to specific rooms labeled on there. So there'll be a button that says all comms, and one that says engine room, one that says cargo, one that says captain's quarters, and that kind of thing. So you can press the button and then use all comms if you want.
Like we're all fine here. We're all good. No problem. Yeah. We're fine. You're fine. How are you?
Yep.
All right.
If you've seen Robot Chicken, there's a reactor on this floor.
All right, so I'll start exploring the ship and tell Amick to alert me if I need to return.
Okay.
So I will. Sir, I guess there's 2 levels or 3 levels.
This one is actually 1 level, and the cargo area is essentially slightly larger, both top and bottom, than the main vessel.
Okay, and so where I guess the engine room is just drops down, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be like maybe 2 or 3 steps down into the engine rooms. Or, well, actually, you come into the console. So the ring around the ship is all 1 level. All the rooms are on the same level, and the console is on the same level as everything else, but it steps down into the physical engines themselves.
Okay.
And then your boarding platform on the left side goes down to the ground level, and then same with your cargo bay on the right side. It's like 1 level, and then it has an extending ramp that comes down out the door to load cargo in.
So I'll just start exploring here.
Okay, roll me an investigation. Are you just kind of what are you looking for specifically? That'd be a better question. You just trying to get a layout? You trying to see if there's boxes? What are you looking for?
Yeah, kind of like a vacant house. I'm opening every door, every drawer, every box, every crate. Literally,
right. Okay.
I'm gonna go through it.
Okay, so you're doing the real estate agent thing. Like, this is the closet, and this is the bathroom, and this is the linen closet. Okay, okay.
See
So
if there's
yeah,
anything
roll me.
they got left behind.
Okay, so roll me a perception check, just to kind of get a layout, and then give me an investigation for finer details if you find something.
Got 16 for.
Okay. So
perception.
what you see in right now, the cargo hold doesn't have anything in it, but what you do see is there are plasteel netted racks. Think of like the like truck bed racks, or not racks, but truck bed nets. You know, those kind of like mesh nets or whatever they put instead of a tailgate. Those kind of things are lining the first and second floor. Almost like if you've seen the movies where they kind of, the military planes, they've got those like cargo nets. You've got those kind of things lining the first and second level. Because there's two levels to the cargo bay. There's the main level that's level with everything else. And then there's a second level of the cargo bay, and there's nets all the way across. There's scaffolding in between the floors so you can stack another level up, and there's like some smaller lockers on this the main level. So the main level has like lockers for things that won't really fit behind a cargo net, so small objects. So there's like some like chests that are like front opening, stuff like that. That's kind of what you see in that area. It's very bland. It's very warehouse looking. It's just shelves and nets and a couple of like cabinets.
All right, and I see a door that goes out, and is it the elevator that drops down to the ground, I guess?
Correct, yeah. So when you press your palm, you would know this. When you press your palm on that that pad, it'll open the door, and it'll bring out a like a U-Haul ramp. It'll slide out a ramp, and it'll bring a ramp down to ground level. And then when you go to take off, it'll retract back into the structure.
All right, so nothing really to open except to go outside.
As far as doors go, yes. I mean, you could check some of the small cabinets for like the smaller items that would just fall through the nets.
Oh yeah, I'm opening any cabinet, whatever, just looking to see if there's oxygen masks, spacesuits.
Give me an investigation check for the cabinets.
15.
Okay. So you see two spacesuits. You would assume that they're for standard humanoid body types. Excuse me. For doing work on non-hospitable planets. You kind of see like a rack of respirators / dust masks if you're dealing with like caustic things that you're on a planet that you can breathe, but you need something to cover your face. You kind of see those within like a single cabinet. And then you see a set of tie downs kind of thing, and next to that within a closed cabinet, because everything should be closed in space. In a closed cabinet, you see a hover cart that can be folded down and then dragged out to carry cargo on like one wall. And so there's no cargo in the space. Essentially, this is like manufactured issued add-ons to the ship.
All right, so get that notated.
And you would think that even being a Doug, you could probably manipulate your body in a way that you could still use one of these spacesuits if you needed to. And we'll shoot it back to the Jawa because I didn't realize she was gone. What is Cell doing?
I'm muted. Now that we're landed, Cell is going to look to TR-17. Tell them there breathable air on this moon, yes?
Yes, there is adequate breathable air. It is a little thinner than most planets, so you will be hard of breath, but it doesn't seem to be toxic in any way.
Okay, I'll be back. And I'm gonna use him to step up again and get into that little
Okay, you're gonna get into the crawl space.
The crawl space. I'm gonna go to the droid eject area and eject myself out.
Okay, so what room are you leaving from? And so there'll be we'll say that there's two places that a droid comes out. One above the engine room and one more towards the nose. That way it's an easier way of... Actually, we'll say 4. There's one on each... Think of it think of this like a square. So there's one in each corner.
Yeah.
Or each intersection.
I'll go above the cargo hold.
Okay.
I'll eject it.
No danger awareness. Oh, from the Jawa? Yeah. All right. Are you moving stealthily, or are you just kind of just crawling your way through? Don't care.
I'm probably being really loud, banging around and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah.
Volwa, give me another perception check.
She's very proud that she found this crawl space. It's home for her. She's like a hamster in a house.
So while Ted is giving me that perception check, you crawl from... So you're...
10.
Okay, 10. Between the ticking of the engines and kind of the general creaking of the ship adjusting to the planet, you don't hear any of the footsteps. What did you go back into the medical room to go up, or did you just go up right next to Skathos? So
just wherever there was an opening. I was just kind of walking around the ship with TR-17, so I just didn't move my token around. So wherever, really.
So you could have just gone right outside the engine compartment. Essentially, it's like that antechamber has where your token is right now. You can't see it, but on the wall where the bunk is, we're going to say that's where the chimney is.
Okay.
For the droid. So you go up there, you climb up into the catwalk, you walk around over to the cargo bay, and then there's a little port that will open up with a droid signal, and then there's a manual override, like land on the Millennium Falcon, where you turn the thing and the thing kind of iris is open. And so you climb up, and you're now on top of the ship and a little bit short on breath. It is very light air, very thin air on this.
Oh dear. Do I see anything?
Roll me a perception check to see what you see.
Oh, natural 1.
You see a lot of open space, and this particular moon is not like our moon where it's just completely gray, but it's kind of almost multicolored. So you've got gray spots mixed in with like a deep, or more like a violet purple, and there's some blues in there, more like a dark blue into like a dark green, almost like an aurora borealis, kind of like the greens and the purples and the blues, how they kind of, and the magentas. So you kind of see that around the landscape, but it doesn't seem caustic. It's just kind of grays mixing into colors. And the colors that you see are not like it just goes gray, like a blob of gray and then a blob of purple or something. It's like gray, and then there's veins of purple and veins of green, veins of blue, veins of magenta, veins of yellow, even in some small confined spaces.
I'm just gonna kind of walk along the top of the ship and see if I see like creatures or maybe metal in the distance, something to ransack while we're here. Okay. Kind of taking my time looking around the ship, seeing if there's any loose parts on the ship that probably don't need to be there.
Okay, so I'm gonna. How long do you guys want to stay on this moon before you do anything? Before you want to leave, I should say.
Do we know of any spaceports where we could buy, I don't know, equipment? Before we go do that task that the Sith asked us to do, or I'm asking this on Intercom.
Okay, yeah. I'll let you RP that out real quick, and we'll see if anybody has some insight. I'll throw you guys back on the overall galaxy map here.
Well, perhaps the moon planet that we were directed to head towards might have several marketplaces of their own. At the very least, perhaps connections toward the businesses that you were discussing earlier.
All right. How about we head there? Have you finished coding this ship to our name?
I finished it before we were brought on board the Dreadnought. This ship should take little time to do the same. At least this time I'll have some time on my hands.
Okay, I have 1 or 2 rooms left to check, and then we'll be off, and we'll get a better heading of where we're going and what we're doing after we complete that short task.
Perfect. All right. Everyone give me one more check based on what you're doing. So we're gonna say that you guys spent a good couple hours on this planet doing all this. Essentially long rest for anyone that needs it. And so if, say, for instance, Skathos is still looking at that script, then he can roll another check for that script. You can roll another perception on the moon for Cell if that's what you want to do for the rest of your time, and then one more
so much
investigation
better.
roll for Volwa. Okay. Volwa sees that this particular ship is basically factory new, right off the line. The only flight it took was the flight from the manufacturer to the Dreadnought. That was it. It was sitting there waiting for an agent of Andon's choosing to send out. Essentially it was like his personal ship, but now that he has control over the Dreadnought, or that specific area of the Dreadnought, he doesn't need to go anywhere. He'll just take a shuttle with Imperial guards, right? Escorts, wherever he's going. So this is basically a stock, clean ship but it has been sitting a while, so that's why the exterior looks a little rough. It's basically just been sitting in a dock for a while, but it's clean. You figure out all the rooms, the medical bay, you know where all the crew quarters are, you know where the galley is, which is where your token is currently, if I got you on there. Yeah. So you know where your current token is, that's the galley. So obviously that's where you can get your calf, that's where you can get your, bantha steaks, whatever. There's a little hollow projector chessboard. There's a big screen HoloNet projector on one wall, and like a bench seat around like a breakfast nook almost. So there's a bench seat with a table where you could watch like the Robo Balls or the Hut Ball sports, if you wanted to tune into those or just get in your daily HoloNet news. Captain's Quarters has everything that the Captain's Quarters needs. It's got its access to the ship. It has a terminal in the ship that has a readout, basically exactly what the co-pilot has. It's got an additional readout that has everything on it. Tells you what all the ship systems are. It has its own personal secure HoloNet access point, whereas the ship as a whole has its own down here in this large room. That wedge shape down there is basically like the computer room, so that has its own HoloNet projector, but the Captain's Quarter has its own secure HoloNet projector. It's got its own lock box. It's got its own bed. Very like crew quarters on the Star Trek Enterprise. It's got its own layout there. Everything that a captain needs to be able to focus on his job. The HoloNet room has the HoloNet, has the computers. This is where the nav computer sits. So the engine room has the console that sends the information to the nav computer, which is in this larger room. It also has all the other electronical gadgets. It has an electrical workstation for maintenance on the computer within its own space. So that way you can maintain it, and it's all right there. It's all contained. You know that on the left side of the ship, there is the personnel docking port and an escape pod access on that side of the ship. There's an escape pod on the near the cargo bay, so there's one on each side of the ship. And essentially that's it. You kind of figure out where all the rooms are. There is nothing to be found. There's no... and you also find that there are some smuggling compartments. There's one at the junction between the engine room and the main ring. In there's a very small smuggling compartment just above like the cables that are running through the ship that transport power and data through. There's a small compartment in there. Essentially every one of the connection points to that ring has a compartment that you can store things in. And then you know where the gun is. So you've got a full layout of the ship. You've got it good in your mind. And there's really not a spot in the ship that you'd think, I don't really know what's going on. You got a good grasp on everything that's going on.
All right, excellent.
And we got, what were you going to say, Ted?
Oh, no, I was talking out loud. I was just moving my guy, getting ready.
Okay. So, my God, Amanda, you got to work on your reception. All right, so, essentially...
I can't see.
You're very short. You can't seem to see over the top of the ship. No, so you don't see any additional things. You just see the bright colors on the moon. And are you trained in history or any of the knowledges? What knowledge are you trained in any of the knowledges?
No.
No?
No.
What are you trained in? That way I know know what I can throw at you.
Yeah, acrobatics, athletics, investigation, perception, believe it or not, sleight of hand, stealth, and that's it.
Typical rogue things then. Gotcha.
I do have
Okay.
pistols too, you know.
That's fine. That's fine. That way I know what to throw at you. I'm not going to throw, wild, knowledgeable things. So, no, you just see
Perception is something I'm supposed to be good at.
Yeah. So you just see a very pretty moon with a couple of notable features, i.e. the different colored ley lines that are running through this moon. Other than that, no creatures, no plant life, no structures that you can see from the planet or from the surface.
A terrible, terrible place to land. Why don't we land here? I'm gonna go back into the drone thing, out of breath. Why did we come here? There's nothing to salvage. There's just colors. I'm gonna mutter my way back down, climb onto TR-17 and climb my way back down all the way. He's my personal step stool.
Skathos, your Arcana, what are you focusing on?
Effectively gonna keep on looking over that document in the Sith writing.
Okay. So you see that the couple of sentences actually resemble a like a mantra of sorts. It says, the will to beguile those around you. The power within is strength over others. Use this, and you can win favor over many enemies.
Awesome.
I got a question for you. Do you read that out loud?
I probably, once I get kind of a hold of the understanding of it, reading out loud to see if it makes sense, like in a kind of poetic sense, see if any words rhyme aloud or anything like that. Yeah, I'd probably read it out loud.
Roll me a Constitution save.
All right. Save would be, boom, 15.
All right. You, reading this out loud, you feel a dark, shadowy, cold feeling embrace your body. And it starts to spread. And from the cold that enters, it sends a shiver down your whole body, down to your tail. And then once it sets and you're just frigidly cold, warm spreads, and then it turns into heat, and then it turns into fire, almost like your skin's beginning to crawl, and then it subsides, and you gain +1 charisma.
Woo! Lord.
You have incanted a Sith sorcery spell. The spell of beguiling. And just so everyone's not feeling left out, there are plenty of shit to go around.
We'll find it, don't worry.
So if you think back, so we'll just kind of take a warp back through Skathos' mind. What's your intelligence, Skathos?
It is 18.
18. Okay, so you're speaking this sentence, this mantra almost, and when you feel that vibration and you feel the heat, the cold and the heat and the fire and then it all subsides. It's almost like coming off of a migraine. Like how your head just becomes calm and your body becomes calm. And so the fierceness of the attack on your body subsides to where you almost have an out of body experience, and you come out and you think back to Vivicar, and that these were his personal belongings, and he himself, who is a pure blood Sith, as in the race is a Sith, was trying to crack this code, and you feel it almost like you're looking through his eyes and the anger, and he can't muster it. He can't understand what's going on. And it's just, he just has nothing but that heat, nothing but that fire of the anger, none of the calm, none of the understanding of what the words actually mean. And he's trying to find what the purpose is. And he just doesn't understand it. And then you fade back into your body, and that's when the understanding flows back through you. It's like, oh, I know what he doesn't know.
I'm just chuckling to myself about that.
The intelligence of serpentoid beings are better than everyone else. All right.
Far superior.
Far superior. So there's a couple more items. So I'm going to throw this out there. The 5 items at the top of the list are special items. So just so the party knows, those are special items. The second part of the list are obviously the gems. Those are components for sell or use for tech projects or things of that nature. And then the other ones are like generic specialty type items. So if I list them this way, then you know that the top list is going to be specialty or items of interest.
All
so
right.
If anyone wants to look at the items of interest, then they can. I'll give you all.
Brought that up because I totally forgot about that.
The
I will
handout.
totally look at that
should
bag.
Be in your
Shade's
list.
main hold.
Yeah, Shade's main hold.
Shade's main hold.
I'm totally gonna look at that bag made from rare hide.
Roll. So I'm gonna assume that you guys, within this 8 hours, you've all done your investigations, you've all done your looking, and then you've all met up in the galley room, where it's comfortable.
Oh,
and you've kind of taken a second to look at what you actually received. You got a box that's got this Sith Lord, in quotes, belongings, and you take a second to look at it. So we're gonna have everyone go ahead and roll for all this. Roll me some intelligence checks on these things. Arcana, if you have it.
All right.
Natural 20.
Natural
Yes.
20.
21.
Ah, aren't you?
Rolled a 10. What am I rolling? Perception?
No, this is intelligence. So if you have Arcana or maybe even a knowledge, like history, religion, or nature,
right,
depending on what it is, I might give it to you.
11 total.
Okay. All right, so what you find, the rolled up animal hide, already gone. Skathos had grabbed that and started looking over it. What you find, the bag made of rare hide, this is something that that Cell knows specifically about. This rare hide is actually made from a Sarlacc stomach lining. And the Sarlacc is like a TARDIS, where it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside.
Oh.
Essentially, it's a bag of holding. So she realizes that this particular lining has a way of bending the space-time continuum within its own stomach in order to engulf, ships, land cruisers, and be able to digest them within a space planet. As long as it can get it through its beak, it can digest anything. Or it can hold anything and then digest it. So that is a bag of holding.
You guys don't want this. It's made out of stomach. It's no good for you. I keep it.
So, can you retrieve it, or does it digest it?
That's a good question. Does the bag eat me?
Stick
Is
your
it a
hand in
mimic
there.
bag?
You gonna stick your hand in there?
No.
No.
Oh, come on now, Sal. You were just telling me how close you're getting with that new medical droid. What's a finger or two among friends?
We can test it later. I have 2 hands. I keep it that way.
Good. So that I'm gonna call a bag of Sarlacc. That's SARLACC.
SARLACC?
Yep.
Bag of Sarlacc. Perfect. And I gave away my navigation chip, so that is gone.
So the Kyber crystal was already given. We'll say that it was given now. That
All right.
Amick, in all of his travels, has dealt with many Jedi and many Sith in their wars. That he knows what powers their weapons, and he knows that a Kyber crystal is at its core, and so he hands that over to Skathos.
Much appreciation.
No problem. Stim packs were held are also within their standard stim packs. I assume 1 per party member. I don't know if you guys divvied them out or not, but there are 4 of them.
Okay.
I take one.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone grabs a stim pack. And then there is a flimsy with coordinates, and this with Amick's assistance, Skathos understands what it is, and I believe I put it in a handout for you guys.
Is that the
Oh,
log
the
entry?
coordinates?
That will be the Sith artifacts coordinates. Chords. This
Wait,
is
how-
something...
Treasure map.
Essentially, it's a treasure map. This is something that Vivicar was also trying to understand, but didn't quite possess the right traits in order to access the understanding of what this is. And this is something that Skathos will be able to understand with his vast intelligence, that these coordinates lead to a Sith artifact on the planet of Korriban. And Sith artifacts are known... actually, is anybody like a criminal or like an underworld type person? I don't think Skathos is. Skathos is kind of up in there, a steady engineer. So
I was an urchin. I could have been underworldly.
Okay. And I know for a fact that Volwa is as well. So both of you give me intelligence checks. If you have history or arcana, give it to me with advantage. So if you don't have history or arcana, it's still with advantage because this is underworld trading type knowledge.
Nice.
15.
14.
Even
15
better.
and 14. Okay, so you know that Sith artifacts carry great power and great knowledge of long dead Sith. And they are highly sought after for collectors, but you know that they are the hottest items to try to sell. They are essentially like, trying to sell nukes to the United States. Yeah, you might find the right person, but it's probably not the best idea. So you can get a huge amount of credits. We're talking enough to buy, 3 or 4, or maybe even 10 ships worth of credits.
We should go there.
Oh yeah, that's high on my list.
And you also know that they also contain within them incredible knowledge and incredible power for personal gain.
We can be selfish with it. It's okay. Let's go.
Well, if you wanted to get into the weapons distribution business, I think that could certainly make for an interesting stop after that moon.
Sounds great. We can start finding and selling. Get bigger and better.
And what are these smugglers' dice? I want to look at those. Those could be very fun for sale.
Okay, roll me a investigation on that.
A natural 1. I got an 8.
All right, so you know that these are a gold-plated set of dice that are generally weighted. Obviously, they were in his personal belongings in order to gather coin because he wasn't very good at what he did, Vivicar, so he had to cheat at what he did.
I'm going to look to the group. You guys don't want this, no? Okay,
You're fine. Just don't get us in trouble with them.
Oh, no, I never get in trouble.
Yeah.
I get the feeling I'm going to regret that decision later on.
And the gold vestments are essentially a set of like fine clothing, almost like something that you would wear to like a royal dinner.
Like to meet the queen. I know the perfect people to sell this to.
So you would think that he would use these when he would present himself to people in power in order to maintain his position, because he was so incompetent at actually doing his job. He had to persuade others into doing it. And then obviously the HoloNet card to the porn channel. And there is a gold locket.
Is it open?
Roll me a sleight of hand.
It's shiny. I pick it up. I get 17.
You open it up, and there's nothing inside that you can see at the moment. It just seems blank. Roll me an investigation.
13.
13. Okay. So it's blank at the moment, but you see on the rim when you open up the locket on either side of the locket, and it's just it's like an oval shape. So when it splits out, it almost makes like a butterfly shape. And you look around the rim of either side of the open locket, and you see that there are electronics inside there, but they don't seem to be firing and projecting anything. But it seems like it could.
Thanks, man. This This. This. Can't find words. Help.
Well, if you're wanting assistance, perhaps you'll need the words.
There's something in it. I can't tell. I can't tell. There's something in it. I can't. I'm out of breath still from going outside. I can't see it.
Let me see it.
Yeah, I hand it out to someone tell me what it is.
So Cell lays it out on the table in front of the group. Everyone roll an investigation. If you have Arcana, this is a mechanical object. Roll me an Arcana.
All right. How about a natural 1?
You know that it's a locket that has an electronic beam around it. Electronic wiring. It's still
yes, it's electronic.
I got 12.
12. Let me roll for our great navigator here. Oh, he rolled a 17. So the locket contains an image on one side of Vivicar, and then it's kind of like Vivicar's facing the seam of the locket, and then on the other side, Amic kind of pokes and twists just a specific amount, sticks his thumb in, and there's a little catch, and an image starts to project kind of fuzzily. And it's distorted, but it's an image of a woman. And it seems like they're sharing a very intimate look at each other. And then it shorts out. Namek says, "This looks like it needs some maintenance."
I'm gonna snatch it out of his hand and try and push where he was pushing. Like, how could you do that? I couldn't do that earlier. What did you do to it? I'm gonna hold it up to the light.
Sel,
you can't figure it out.
Sel, if you're really looking for a second glimpse, perhaps that HoloNet access card is for you.
What?
Never mind.
What does it do? Is it shiny?
Not at all.
Take it to one of the screens and go plug it in.
I'll take it.
You're gonna try to plug the locket into the HoloNet?
No, the HoloNet access card.
Okay. Yeah, you. Is someone actually plugging that into the HoloNet?
They told me to.
Okay.
They said, "Go plug this in."
Are you plugging it into the galley, or are you plugging it into the main projector?
Wherever they tell me to. I don't know where to plug it in.
So you plug it in, and although the access card says Twi'lek's Gone Wild, it seems to be a slideshow of an image of a Twi'lek. Nothing extremely racy, but it's an image of a Twi'lek with blue, like a sky blue skin with light green, almost like tattoos, but markings on the Leku that come down around the back of her head. And it seems like this might be the Twi'lek that's in the locket. It seems like this is a ploy by Vivicar to hide images of his lover. A Twi'lek.
Oh. She was in the locker, yeah? How do you know that before I plug it in? You guys are so smart. You guys know what you're doing here. She was in the locker, yeah?
Sure. Yes, very smart.
Oh. There's something to this. We need to get the locket working again.
Sal, for your sake, I hope you never run into her, as you seem more than keen upon drawing your blades and facing that Sith Master, all too eager to die.
I was invisible. He wasn't supposed to see me, and all of a sudden I was visible and he killed me. I mean, I didn't know what that was going to happen. I wasn't eager to die, it's just I wasn't invisible anymore. Whatever you gave me didn't work on me. It doesn't match with my job.
It worked just fine before you got reckless.
Oh. Is that how it works? You're not allowed to be reckless?
Unfortunately, it is a limitation.
Next time, tell me before, maybe, if that's okay.
Well, I was about to before you just went running ahead.
How did you know I went running? I was invisible.
You're not the quietest either. Perhaps you could work on that.
That's true. And that door really, really stumped me. I was there for a minute, but Amick just walked right in and just at the door. I couldn't open the door.
Yes, perhaps my luck would just be to conceal him upon entry.
It could work. He's a lot less reckless than I am. He only shot at me 2 times. Less reckless indeed.
So, in the middle of your conversation, you hear a beep, 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 and there's a little signal showing up on your HoloNet screen saying that there's an incoming call on your HoloNet projector.
Oh, that's new.
No. Eject that, please.
I'm gonna click a button. Can I click a button?
What button are you clicking?
The one that's beeping.
No. Oh my God.
So
Eject.
So she clicks the
What is
beeping
that
button,
noise?
and you see an image of Andon show up on your HoloNet screen in the gallery.
Oh, the scary guy. What's he
He
doing here?
says, "This thankfully, this particular screen does not have a camera to see back out. It's more of a viewing screen." And so he says, "My agents, I see that you have taken your ship on a joyride around the planets. My agent within the Empire, Vizian, Vizhen, is awaiting for you on Nar Shaddaa. She will bring you before the Shadow Council. But it seems that she needs you to bring more to the table than just yourselves in order for you to have your word heard by the Shadow Council."
Oh, okay. Where's the
And
button again?
there is a microphone, but there's
Put
not
a
a
button
visual.
again. I'm gonna try and click the button off.
What more does she require of us?
Something that will show your allegiances to the criminal underworld of Nar Shaddaa. And depending on what you bring, will determine your level of favor with the local crime lords.
We have a locket.
I don't
Any
believe they have
suggestions on what
interest
they?
in any lockets.
That's all I got, guys. I don't got much more.
Do they have anything they've been wanting?
They have most everything that they want. They just want to make sure that you are capable to do what they want done on the planet of Nar Shaddaa.
Well, I'll have to speak it over with Amick myself, but I believe that double-bladed lightsaber that we acquired could make for quite a gesture of our capabilities, as well as a gift.
We could go on a treasure hunt.
Lightsaber sounds better. There's one, few ways to get it, and that probably give them a good idea of what we're capable of.
Unless, Sal, you know of any treasures nearby.
The paper.
That is across the galaxy.
Oh,
That is on Korriban. Quite the distance to travel.
we can still go. It could be fun. But it won't be like tomorrow.
What interest do you have in the Sith homeworld of Korriban?
We've come across rumored information regarding some artifact or item of some sort. It's a rumored tip. Not sure if it holds any weight to the words behind it, so perhaps it is not worth our time.
Well, if you are searching the homeworld of the Sith, I do tell you to tread carefully, and if you do find anything that might be of note to my order, don't bring it to the Hutts and the crime lords. Bring it to me. I'll make it worth your while.
But how will we prove it to them if we bring it to you?
They are simpletons when it comes to the ways of the Force, and Sith artifacts are quite powerful in dark sides.
So we bring them the lightsaber, and we bring you the treasure map? Right.
If we find a map, we'll, is that something you would want?
As long as the information provided is true and valid.
Oh,
then
so we go
yes.
get the treasure, and if we find the treasure, then we give you the map because it's real. We could do that. We could do that. That's workable.
I
We'll find the map
despise
first.
working with criminals. And he cuts the line.
Sal,
Yes, we go.
remind us not to have you included upon future communications.
I said we need to prove ourselves. I mentioned the treasure. That's provable. That sounds. You guys said that's a really big deal. I just assumed it was a big deal. They didn't want to lock it.
Less is more, okay? Let's try to learn that one. Less is
Okay.
more.
He didn't want to lock it. What was I supposed to do?
Just less information is more.
Okay.
So you realize he gets to that shiny object first. He'll never let you touch it.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, we better go. We better go first and get it. He can have the map though, but after we get it.
The more of these treasures that you give away the location and information of, the more of these shiny, pretty objects that you'll never see.
Light bulb kind of like you can clearly see her eyes get a little bit brighter. Like that makes sense.
Go ahead. Finish it.
That's all I said. That makes sense. Yeah, that's right. That makes sense.
Is anyone trained in insight?
Nope.
What about Valwa?
No, unfortunately not.
Well, shit. You guys ain't good at reading nothing. So you hear
That's nasty.
Amick was leaving the scanners on, and he kind of left them going, and you hear not necessarily a klaxon, but a different type of warning signal since he came into the galley to distribute the findings, the hold that you guys found. And Amick punches on the console on the table to bring up on the HoloNet screen to override it, and he brings up a scan of the moon that you're on, because he's been running a scan for the last like 8 hours on the planet just to try to find anything. And he finds that this particular moon has 5 varieties of spice on it.
Of spies?
Spice.
Spice. Oh, okay.
Space drugs.
Oh, geez, spice. Yep.
Spice. Do you spice? And this kind of clicks in Cell's head because she's not ignorant to spice trading and things like that. She just doesn't trade in those things. She trades more in mechanical means because they're easier to transport and sell. That she realizes now that all those different colors were different strands of spice on this one moon, which is extremely rare. And it's also extremely rare that it hasn't all been completely mined out, since it's so close to Hut space and a known smuggler's world.
I know how we prove ourselves. We go dig up the color outside. It's very, very rich color. You dig up the color, the different colors of different things, and they make lots of money. Yeah, I'm serious. It really works.
If you feel the need to go play in the dirt, have at it.
Okay. We should all go though. I'm just telling you that it's a great way to prove you're with us. Think smaller, you say? This is very small sand like spice stuff.
I don't think they'll be wanting dirt.
Oh, they will. You'll see.
Okay. Does the scanner say how far, or are we sitting on it?
Essentially, it seems like the entire moon is comprised of different veins of spice. And spice essentially, think of like crystal meth, right? It's a crystal. It's crystallization that people use. And that's what spice is. It's different forms of crystal that, when processed, perform different hallucinatory effects. And you notice this moon is relatively, they're not huge veins, but there are veins of different forms of spice essentially everywhere. So there might be like a 2-foot vein, there might be a 50-foot vein, there might be a mile-long vein of spice that is not necessarily a drug, but is used for medical things. So there's a lot of different size and potencies of spice crystals on this moon.
Are we able to identify each one, or is it on the surface of the vein, or are we having like a mining operation?
Cell noticed that there are a few veins that had popped up, that she noticed that over the gray landscape that there was pockets of color around, within maybe a couple miles, because you think you're on a small moon, you can kind of see a distance from on top of the ship, but within a few miles of the ship there are pockets of color. If you go deeper, there's probably more, but there should be some stuff on the surface.
Okay, and, I'll take a minute to get a mask and try to get samples and notate it for a future resource.
Okay. Is anyone
And
else going out to assist?
If he's gonna head out, I'll send my own droid out,
Okay, you'll send your
kind of
droid
with
out. Okay.
whoever goes out. Yeah.
I'll get one of the masks to assist breathing. And it's not temperature-wise. It's not like -200 or
No.
plus 200.
You gotta think it's like it's close
Die
to.
instantly.
It's no. It would be close to. Since it has an atmosphere, but it's a light atmosphere, on the sunny side of the moon, it's like 0 degrees. So it is certainly walkable, and with the, if you were to go out in the suit, it would be comfortable. If you were to go out without the suit and just an oxygen mask, it would be extremely cold. Comparatively. But if you go to the dark side of the moon, then you're starting to get into some cold temperatures.
Since we've been here so long, has light changed? Is this going to be, a rotation of the light, or is this always going to be in the light?
This particular moon will always be light facing side out. Except for like the couple-hour rotation around the planet, but it's always facing in one direction. It's not actually spinning itself, so it's a very light gravity on this particular moon.
All right, so I won't get out there and, oh no, it's nighttime.
No, you shouldn't. You should have at least a couple hours to go out maybe a mile or two and pick up some samples and then come back.
All right, I'll do enough to pick up 2 different samples, put on the spacesuit.
Okay.
And that way we can mark a location. That way if we find somebody that wants this, we can always come back and load up.
Okay. Let's have Skathos give me a straight D20 roll, please. 8 to 10, and your droid assists on Volwa's investigation. All right.
How about
Volwa,
a 12?
you have advantage on your collection. This is essentially how fast and how cleanly you can collect the crystals that are on this moon.
All right, so investigation. 19 plus 1, 20 total.
Nice.
20 total. All right, so you get 2 pristine different strands of spice. We're going to say a violet purple and an aqua blue strand of spice.
All right, then I make my way back. Ask, what the heck is his name?
Amy?
No, TR.
Oh, TR.
TR-17.
You guys can rename them at any point, so.
No, I already remember that name, and we know how I am with names.
I'll just call him TR for short. TR, can you analyze these and tell us exactly what we have?
Yes, I can. I will have to take them back into the medical board in order to get a better sense of things.
All right, can I give him like a small sample of each one? That way, not the whole thing.
It's essentially a scan, so you might want to keep the pristine crystals intact. He doesn't actually have to physically touch it. It's more of like he has to like 3D scan it, and it's all digital, so nothing's penetrating the product.
Got it. Okay.
You can watch him if you want.
Yeah, I'll hand it to him, and I'll say, "Sell." Are you pay attention? Okay. When he's done, take these samples and hide them where nobody can find them. Okay.
Cell can do that. I'm sure she's dealing with baby at the moment.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Her little droid.
I just figured she was like staring at me.
All right. So he I'm sure you got your wireless. So he told you to watch over the droid and then take the samples after the analysis was done and find a hiding place for them.
Oh, okay. Well, if he's telling me to find a hiding, can I like skim a little bit off of them, like a little bitty?
Oh my god.
Volwa, make sure that you write down it is 1 pound of each color. Or 1 kilo. I don't really care about the actual weight, but that's the volume that we're looking at. And if Cell wants to actually skim off the top after she goes to hide, she can do a sleight of hand with advantage because no one else is looking.
Oh yeah.
All right. So Cell thinks she's being sly when she's hiding it. No one else is watching Cell except for TR in the space.
I'm gonna wink at TR.
TR isn't going to speak a word unless he is asked.
Right. Then you better ask.
So I will do some research after the fact and figure out what those are, because I know there's many different varieties, but you do find that these are the violet and the aqua are pure, like 100% pure spice crystals. 2 different varieties. I'm gonna say the violet is like premium, and the aqua is gonna be like your like low tier. So bottom shelf spice is your aqua, violet is your top tier.
Good to know.
Alright, somebody mark those down. My D20 sucks. Or roll 20. Maybe it's my laptop. I don't know.
And I'm gonna have to call it here in a minute because this little guy is not happy at all.
We are like basically done. Okay, so after the analysis is done, Cell hides the spice, the majority of the spice crystals in a compartment within the crawl space that essentially only small creatures and droids have access to, and she pockets a couple granules for herself, a couple crystals for herself. Are you taking back off to go back to Nar Shaddaa? I would assume so, right? After all this time, you've done all your research and everything. All right, so you take off, and you do a very small jump to Nar Shaddaa. You get back into Nar Shaddaa's gravitational well, and you start coasting into planet. And the local dock at the designated coordinates from Andon, the local shipyard, landing platforms or whatever, landing platform 23 calls you in, and you land, and you step out onto the platform, and before you see very bright neon colors, neon signs, and essentially there's gambling. You hear the pachinko machines and the blings and the slot machines and the ding 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 and the hustle and bustle and speeders and yelling and bar fights, and It is basically Las Vegas at like midnight when everyone's going fucking crazy. And there's nothing but that everywhere when you first step off, because this is the main platform to get people in. It's like you're going to an amusement park. It's like when you first walk in.
It's so pretty here.
When you first walk in, the main attractions are right there, and then they funnel you into the space. And that's what you walk into. And that's where we'll pick up next week.
Sal is in heaven. She loves the sparkles. So many people to try and rip off. She's gonna like dig in her bag and like hold the dice like, oh, this is gonna be so much fun.
Wow, this is gonna go so poorly.
Yeah, especially because Cell hasn't really been around the gambling planet, and she doesn't know that they use their own dice.
Sal doesn't know.
The way these smuggler dice are used is like how Han Solo won the Millennium Falcon in a backwater card game kind of thing.
You don't go to the casino with your own dice.
Mm.
You're gonna tell Sal that. All of a sudden she'll roll and they'll be like, where the fuck did you get those dice from? And she'll be like, I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
at the
you better be
cinema.
careful not to get caught with them things.
That's gonna be great. Okay, but I gotta go, guys.
That was
Good
good.
here.
All right.
Adios.
Wonderful evening.
Take care of your little droid.
Cell's going to be Scaffold's responsibility.
I don't know. Not a babysitter.
Just not a babysitter. Just they call it a handler. Okay.
Handler, yeah. I don't
Too
know. I
old
think
for this
Amick
shit.
might be the handler for Cell.
Probably.
He seems to pick her up quite often.
So I just hit my remote and locked the ship. Put on the alarm.
Boop, boop.
You know. Boop, boop.
Yeah. So when you walk off, you type in your, I assume, altered code. So come up with the code, and that way everyone knows it. So you come up with an altered code for the ship instead of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And
What was wrong with
that's
1, 2,
also
3, 4,
something
5?
that Volwa would know, that you can also, get improved security for ships and things like that. Upgraded security, upgraded locks, upgraded all that stuff.
Maybe change the ship name to Jolly Roger 7 or something like that.
What's up with you and sevens, man?
This is my favorite number.
Yeah, that's perfectly within the realm of reason. If you're looking to do something shady, this is the planet to do it on in this particular galaxy. So if you're looking for official like HoloNet docs and not just ship-based, credentials, this is the planet to go get them changed.
Cool. And I think of like a list of upgrades. Like you look in the player's handbook for equipment to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Say for upgrades for ships. Weapons, security. Turbos.
Yeah. Anything that you want to focus on, just shoot me in the Star Wars Skype, and I'll look to finding some info on that.
Okay, yeah, I'll narrow your search. That way you're not like, all right, every part. All right, this bulb in the galley can, actually, no, I'll narrow it down.
Yeah. Obviously, general terms. You don't want to change it to black lights everywhere. I mean,
Right.
If you want to do that, that's basically free. But yeah, no, cool. So, what did you guys think? Good.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Was it
My
too
mind
many
is racing.
checks? Did it feel like
Not
it
for
was
what
too
we
many
were
checks?
doing.
It felt like it was a lot of checks, but it was getting everybody involved
Okay.
in the process. So it wasn't just like, you make this check and then keep going with that. It was everybody getting to participate in it. So that was good.
Because I noticed I did that last session. I was like, that's a lot of checks. It's like, but there's a lot of unknowns, so it's like
exactly, yeah.
And especially
there's
with
a
Star
reason
Wars,
for the
right?
checks.
Because there's so many different like
Yep.
technologies and religions and things like that it's like you kind of have to make a check, and until I can know, like, because nobody sent me any background stories or anything like that. So until I know what your characters are actually capable of, then it's like I've got to ask to check for it. It's like, hey, are you trained in it? Okay,
that's true. Yeah.
Okay,
but
that gives me some homework. Yeah, I want to basically know this ship like Han Solo knew the Falcon. You know, every nook, cranny, where to hide.
Yeah, and
you know.
I figured after like maybe two more sessions or something like that, like once, or if you get me a background that like really goes a little more in depth into the piloting skills, then I'll be able to say, oh, we can just take 20 on piloting checks unless it's like in combat. And then it's just like,
right.
Okay, he just does it. And same thing with Amic, because right now Nick doesn't have. He just said, "Oh, I'll be the navigator." He hasn't written anything saying that he's been a navigator for X amount of years or he's done these kind of things. So I'm kind of making him do the checks.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. So
and
background.
I don't require a whole lot because I'm not that in depth. I'm not going to get super political and all these other things. So give me a good story and I'm happy. that's all I need.
Right. All right. I'm going to take off to excellent session tonight.
All right.
See you guys later.
We'll see you Sunday.
Later.
Later.